If you're not doing anything, you're hanging out, hey, we're going live on YouTube reviewing some wedding films. Go check it out. Come hang out on YouTube. We're going to watch some awesome wedding films. If you're not doing anything, you're hanging out, hey, we're going live on YouTube.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. It is Thursday at noon Central. And of course, that means we are back for another live stream, live reviewing films from you guys, from our community that you guys submit to us. We are super excited to be here. We took last week off, holidays, family commitments, whatnot, but we are back with an awesome show for you guys today. And I am joined today by Jay. Jay, how you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. I'm going to queue up the next video, so I'm not going to join with video yet.
All right, love it, love it. Well, a few quick things before we get into it. Welcome if you have not been here before. This channel is Wedding Film School. We are out here just trying to build up this community, help everybody make better wedding films, run better businesses. We've got this channel where we do tutorials, behind the scenes videos. We've got a couple in the works right now, and our weekly live stream. And we also have our other channel dedicated to our podcast. So that's called the Wedding Film School Show. We bring on guests. We do deep dives into these, bigger topics, I guess you'd say, these deeper topics, more theory, stuff like that. And so we'd encourage you to go check that out on a sister channel here on YouTube called The Wedding Film School Show. And it's also available on all your normal podcast platforms, right? Apple Podcasts and Spotify and stuff like that. So if you have not checked that out, be sure to go check that out. Beyond that, what this is really about is just, helping you guys where you're at in your wedding film. So we have people submit from, very beginners to seasoned veterans. We love having that mix, and we're gonna take a look at some films today, share a few things that we think you do really well, think you should lean into, your strong points, etc., and a few areas where we think a film or filmmaking in general could be improved. We've got myself and Jay today. We are both wedding filmmakers. Jay's on the East Coast. I'm in the Midwest. Between us two, what do you think we have, Jay? 30 years between us two?
Oh, geez.
Maybe more? Right around there.
Yeah, I would say not
We
one of
should
those
count.
things that you're like, yay, I'm so proud of how old I am.
Yeah. We have 1 year of experience, I think. We're just trying to share what we've learned in the industry. We think, we can provide a unique look at the industry with having both of us. We also have Jared, who's not here today. Just being able to give you guys different perspectives from different types of businesses that we run, being through, a lot of different eras of wedding filmmaking and whatnot. So, Jay, do we have the first one?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, Matt Johnson is in one of those interviews. We've had kind of all the big players, I feel like, on the show at one point.
Next month we're gonna have be having Kaylin for White and Reverie. We're gonna be having, I don't know if it'll be next month, but next couple months we'll be having Peyton Frank. I got just a couple surprise guests coming. I mean, it's there. I think at the end of the day, we want to bring people on that show a lot of different sides of wedding filmmaking, and also what you can do maybe after wedding filmmaking, or just, I don't know. It's a pretty small community. Anybody,
kind of that general path, right? Like it can look at a lot of different ways.
One of the things I would encourage you guys is, like, anyone you admire, you can probably talk to them in wedding filmmaking. What's up?
Yeah. Kyle Smith. Kyle Smith has been on the podcast, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think they want him in the chat.
Go check it out.
I'll text him. Get over here.
Where are you? Hey, what's up, TNR Reels? TN Reels, my bad, not TNR. I was in my head. I don't think I've ever said your name out loud, and then I always in my head say it like that.
All right, so who's our first person?
Yes. So our first is, actually, I was just commenting on his comment. So it's Nate Bittinger from Nate Bittinger Photography. So Nate, do you do photo as well as video? You can let us know in chat. Notes from Nate here. This is a wedding video I put together within a week of the client's wedding. Super excited about the day, but it ended up being a pretty average wedding. The wind was insane. And the bride was pretty unhappy about going outside a lot of the time.
Man,
excuse me.
Second
there. Shooter fumbled that one. Out of focus, full groomsman shot. Not sure exactly what that means, but ended up using it. So I guess we're just getting prepared that if we want to comment on out of focus shot,
we can't.
We know
we're not allowed.
Yeah, we can't.
I already told you.
Vows off her phone, and ended up having to dub the groom's vows over the wedding portion because the wind ruined ceremony audio. That's So before we get into this, I would love to know. This would be a great tester, right? Jay, I just put out that video on I'm blanking on it. It was Shasta, now it's not. Adobe Podcast or whatever. Nate, you should check out that video. It's the most recent non-live stream we did. I think we released it a week ago. Run that audio through the Adobe Podcast, because that thing is pretty crazy to see what it can do, and I'd love to see if that was able to help you. It's pretty easy. So
yes.
Sweet. Well, without further ado,
so before we do that, if you're new to the show, basically what we do is a round of what we like about the film and some things that inspired us, some things that we think that they did really well as a filmmaker, as an editor, and whatever. And then we also like to look at maybe a few of the areas where we think they could level up. And by we say level up over improve, because we're trying to look at what's the next step in their development. Someone who's a brand new filmmaker versus someone who, last week last live stream, we had some people who are very advanced filmmakers. So the next step for them is going to be very different. And so we don't want to be judging people based on just a flat kind of, we're grading on a curve basically. And so that's kind of how we do the show.
Meeting you where you're at in your, journey.
Yes. So here we go. Hopefully it sounds good.
Kirsten, I've been unsure about many things in my life, but I've never been more sure when it comes to you. When I went to college, I thought I'd find the girl of my dreams, but I never did, and honestly, I thought I never would. But then shortly after college, I met you. You like to tell people that I wasn't interested in you at first and how you made the first move. But really, I just thought you were way out of my league, so why bother?
Josh, you are the sweetest man I have ever met in my life, and I truly don't know how I got so lucky finding you. In the 4 years that we have been together, I have never heard you once raise your voice at me. You have never cussed in my direction, and you are always the first one to apologize. I will be having the worst day, and without fail, I will go outside to white roses on my car. White roses have quickly become my favorite flowers because of this specific reason.
It's honestly surreal that I'm standing here today marrying the girl.
Did you light that, Nate? Or was that window light? I'd like to know that.
The table.
Yeah.
You have a huge heart, you're incredibly caring, and you're easy to love. When people ask me my favorite part about you, I always tell them what you see is what you get. What I love about us is that as much as we need each other, we always keep our own identities. We've been the same people from when we met to now. You let me go out with friends, hog the TV when my sports teams are on, and let me fulfill my severe golf addiction.
You treat my family like they're your family with open arms and an open heart.
I always love when you don't hide the like when you can clearly see like, hey, that's the mom's older hand versus it's such a good story element.
Yeah.
You know, it just reminds you there's like a generational component to the film. So not that we do that as filmmakers, but I always like it as a touch when I see it.
You even got me my dream angel of a dog, who, if you know me, you know Paisley. She is the greatest gift I've ever been given, and I cannot thank you enough for her. These are just some of the examples why you are the most selfless, kind-hearted human being I have ever had the pleasure of meeting, nonetheless married. I vowed to always have your back, to always be on your team, and to always order you honey mustard for your wings and pizza, even if I am judging you the entire time. I vowed to not complain about you golfing as long as you keep it to 1 day a weekend, which we all know is not going to happen thanks to the Anastasi brothers. I'm going to finish this with some of my favorite things about you. You might be one of the only people I've ever met who genuinely enjoy watching other people succeed without ever getting jealous. Your love and respect for your parents, and lastly, and probably my most favorite thing about you, your desire to be a dad one day. You are going to be the most phenomenal dad, and I cannot wait to experience that with you. I love you more than you could possibly ever know. You're my forever guy. I love you forever.
Everything about you is perfect for me. Even when you randomly cry thinking about when our dog dies, she just turned 3. I vow to give this marriage everything I've got, every part of me. You always say that marriage is scary, and all you really know are failed marriages. I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure we don't fail. I vow to always be by your side and never leave. And I have no choice on the matter because you always tell me that if I leave, you'll make my life a living hell. But most importantly, I vow to love you unconditionally. I'm gonna give you the love that you want and deserve because you deserve it.
I pronounce you husband and wife. Josh, you may now kiss your bride.
that shot though.
Okay, Bobby.
Sweet. Yeah, you want me to go first? Things I like.
I'm gonna go first.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just decided I am. I just taking control of my life. I first of all, obviously, like I'm really into his handheld shooting. I like the motion. I just think the way it's shot is awesome. I don't want to say I like or don't like the look but I like that it's a specific look too.
Gotcha.
Like,
Yeah.
Like it's a very, you could debate that it's too teal, the whole thing. Especially when you start adding some actual teal light, then it really accentuates it, like the twilight and stuff. But that being said, it's a strong look, and I think that is important to the market. Is like when people look at your film, they're like, oh, that's this person's film. So I feel like it's very stylized, and I like that. I like strong stylized, especially when it's like done well, and I think this is done well. I also, like every time he was doing some gimbal moves, I could tell there was a lot of thought, and it's a lot of motion. There is a lot of motion in the film. That doesn't bother me personally when it's done well, especially because there's also a lot of static shots, and there's static, handheld, and gimbal, and it's used really tastefully and done well.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of other no, I mean there's a lot of other things that is great, but
yeah.
I mean that's just the stuff that stuck out to me off the bat.
Yeah, I think overall this is a really good film. I really like the intro. You guys know if you're here week in, week out, you want to get on my good side, make a good little intro like that. I don't know, I'm a sucker for them. I love the black and white and just kind of distinguishing it. And
yeah, that was well done actually. A lot of times that's pretty horrible. And that was
I agree. And like and combined with like the handheld, just this really raw look, and I really like that. I don't know what I wrote here. I also
you should
really
just read what you think it says.
Yeah. Well, it says reception, but I'm like, what is that referencing? I don't remember.
We like that you shot a reception.
Yeah, I get. Oh, I think I like those table shots.
Yeah.
The light on that was really cool. Yeah. And then I also.
By the way, little teaching moment, right? That is a sign of an experienced filmmaker. Is they know when available light is actually tasty.
Yep.
Right. They're looking for.
Yeah, and that's not like beautiful diffused light. Like that's harsh, direct sun coming right through the window.
That is like my goal. If I can find a streak of light in the reception hall, I'm gonna go and kill that exposure and make it like just one plate.
And I think it's important. It does fit with this. Like you mentioned, kind of that look, and you're like, I'm not gonna say if I like the look or not, but I like that it is a distinct look. And a shot like that fits really well with this. It's very contrasty, very harsh shadows.
But I do think like that's the thing about a wedding filmmaker is they know like when is there interesting light, not just correct light.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. How can I utilize this
How can
light?
I like make a boring table more interesting? Find some interesting light. So I love that.
And then the last thing I really like the pacing in this film. Like I think, or maybe it's just I like the film and the pacing didn't bother me, whereas I think this would have felt slow to me. But like, it was a slower song, but it just like it kept moving forward and it kept me visually entertained, and I think it was well put together because of that.
All right. So for me, some areas where I think I question, not necessarily. I want to be careful saying I think they can improve because I do look at it and go like,
Yeah, I think
can't
we
always
go into
improve.
films like this, right, where we just say like, hey, at this point it's like opinion things, and
Or
it's like,
sometimes you shot the best you could and edited the best you could, and
Yeah.
things about it sucked.
yeah, and like it's overall presented in the sphere of like this is a good film, and I'm sure, I mean, obviously the couple
Yeah.
loved it, but like,
So
You
for
like
me, I didn't like I didn't want to hear the couple talk that much.
Yep.
I didn't think they were very interesting. It felt forced. It felt non-authentic, is how I would say it. Like,
yeah,
and I like, and that's okay. Like, I'm not saying they're not authentic. I just think like the way that they spoke.
well, he
things that
kind of
they said.
presented that too, like the
Yeah.
groom was dubbed over.
And I would say you don't need to include it then.
Yep,
Like,
I have very similar things written.
I
down
would
to that.
probably have just tried to make a more visually driven film with less narration. I think it would have made the film more real feeling, and it would have like it almost like this is the thing. If someone's communicating on camera and they're not bringing the same level of energy or drama as the shots and the music, it actually pulls all that stuff back. And so I think like having some of it is fine, but making it such a undergirding spine of the entire story it made it hard for me to get like emotionally connected with the film. And then the other thing I was going to say was I do think the teals are too heavy on the look. And you'll see it here, like, so it looks like his light's a little on the orange side, but whenever it flashes, like right there on that guy's shirt, like blue, 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 and like the twilight is so blue. And the blacks are so crushed throughout the whole thing. And that could just be taste. That's just me. I'm just not a fan of blue as a overarching look in wedding films because of the fact that I think we associate blue with being cold. And I don't think people want to feel cold on their wedding day. So that's just kind of my 2 cents. I think the story standpoint would have been better, a little more restraint and a little less of them talking.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll go in the order of just the way I wrote it down. I thought this was an interesting one because for as much as I liked the film, like there was a lot that I think I was like, I feel like this could have been done differently, or I would have done this differently. Again, we don't know the context, but one of the things I thought I really like personally, like these like harsh shadows, contrast, really good use of light, even if it's direct light. Sometimes I think there's films where I say like, some of the shots were like a little too dark for me. There might have been one or two here, but one of the things that really stood out to me is I think that can work really well, but I think it has to be consistent. And one of the things that I didn't love was like you have these very good use of light shots, but then you also have these shots where there's like, I mean, obviously there's ambient light, but like the light, that harsh shadow is nowhere, or that harsh light is nowhere in frame. And it's like, it was a lot of the prep stuff where it was like I know you have her writing the letter on the windowsill and this beautiful like light and these shadows and it's interesting and whatever. And then you have the shot of the hand putting lipstick on her lips. And it's like, it's just like such a flat shot in contrast to that other one. And so some like more consistency there. And I don't know if that's like possible. I think this is getting pretty nitpicky, obviously.
I don't know.
Like,
I saw some, even with the color, there was a little bit of like skin tones were handled differently throughout the film.
Yeah.
And
I think, like you can't, if you have no light coming in and hitting something and making these interesting shadows and whatever, then you can't go so dark, maybe is what I'm thinking. I don't know.
Well,
exactly
I think you're talking about like, there's one is like, is he crushing, is he like compressing the color too much?
Yeah.
Right? Which is like, could be done in the grade, probably done in the grade. Or is it that sometimes he's making different choices?
Yeah.
And you think,
I don't know.
I don't really know. I think, and by the way, Forever Cherished, is that, I don't know, are you Ethan? Let me.
No. Forever Cherished is at the end, I believe. That's, oh wait. Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, you're at the end.
Yeah, sorry. So. Okay. Yeah, we'll put you at the end. Yeah, so I don't know. That's my thoughts there. I will echo Jay's. I think the biggest thing that stood out to me This is the second thing I wrote down was I would say the audio selections you made. And I understand you want audio to try and drive the film forward and whatnot, but I don't know, like maybe this is the couple. I don't really love the use of his vows that I think we just saw them there. We didn't hear them, so I don't know if that's for sure. But like mentioning the dog dying, mentioning failed marriages, I would kind of stay away from that personally. And then I think like their letter, or I don't know if it's their vows, their letters, whatever, the stuff that was throughout the whole film, I would have I think echoing Jay, used less of that to make it more powerful, because I think there was some good stuff in there, but then there was a lot of just like fluff that was like, I think you could have left it on the cutting floor or whatever. I also would have liked to have seen the couple, some of these shots, these beautiful, beautiful shots earlier in the film. I don't think we saw them together until after
I think
the
that,
ceremony.
I mean, he did, but he did in black and white. I think it was the same.
That's true.
The same session.
Yep.
I think here's the thing is like, I actually think this person is an awesome shooter.
Yeah, definitely.
Really, really, really good. Like many people will never be this good in their whole life.
Yeah.
And I even like I said, like it is a little blue in some places, but I even like the look. I like, there's just a lot of like, this is a good artist and someone with a lot of ability. And so I would just work on the storytelling. And, this is the thing about weddings. Weddings are at their core a vanity purchase. And like, I don't want to like say something that makes a couple sound bad, but this is just how I process stuff. And when I talk to my team, I don't want to make my couple sound shallow or vapid. I don't want my couple to sound silly or petty or like just non-endearing. I want to elevate the couple through how they're portrayed. And I know it's like, oh, it's more authentic. It's like, that's just not how I see it. For me, weddings are not like, there's an authenticity to the emotion and the love, but you don't need to show a person's flaws. And for me, some of the stuff, it's like, I was just like, yeah, I would have probably tried to make them sound a little more eloquent. Like there were times where they're saying the same word 3 times in a sentence. Like, and I don't say that to make fun of the couple, but I just say like what I would be sensitive to when I was editing it, as I would be like, let's trim that up. Like they probably didn't mean to say that. Yeah. And it's like, that is to me part of the job is making someone look as good as possible, sound as good as possible, sound intelligent, sound deep, sound authentic.
I mean, it's the same as visually, right? If she's, I don't know, took a drink of water and is choking on it and coughing, you're not going to put it in there because it makes it look bad.
Well, and it doesn't, like, if someone coughs on water, it doesn't mean that they're stupid.
Yeah, but it's just like, it's not representative of like them or their day or whatever.
Forever Cherished is second, by the way.
Yeah, we're going to move him to third.
So.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, Nate, I hope you found that helpful. I love the film. There's a lot to really, really like about it. Again, I think when we get like a really good film, we want to come up with some stuff that we think you can improve. And
I would love
at that point,
I would love to work with Nate. If Nate was one of my shooters, man, I would kill for
He's
that.
in your area, Maryland or something.
That's not in my area.
Well,
he's like 8 hours away.
8 hours, that's nothing.
He's awesome though.
Cool.
All right, so now we have a different person second. So who do we got?
Yeah, we got to real quick here. So up next we have then Courtney Lambert, Joel and Courtney, who I believe are in chat. Joel and Courtney Films. And here's what they had to say. Thanks so much for your time. Oh, you're very welcome. Your feedback has helped us so much with our films. Love to hear that. I feel like we don't see that as much in here. I feel like we see it in chat. We have people reach out to us, but I love seeing it right here in our submission. This wedding was shot on a Fujifilm X-T4 and X-T3s with Viltrox and Fuji lenses. You guys shoot X-T4, right?
Yes.
All right, so
I know about their very brittle highlights.
We had 10 minutes for portraits as there was a crazy rainstorm. The couple and their bridal party were amazing.
No excuses.
The weather with us, exactly. Really struggled with the ceremony lighting, stuffed up the exposure. I think that's maybe stopped up. I don't know. On a couple of shots, or maybe that's screwed up. I don't know. Is that a phrase?
I don't know.
Maybe they're out of the U.S. and it's like that's a thing, right? I stuffed it up. We were unable to plug in for the speeches, so we had to rely on our backup recorders. That might get some comments out of us. We'll see.
Well,
would love
actually, I would love if you're in chat. Explain what you did. No, explain two things, because this is what I want to analyze.
They are in chat, I believe.
Yeah. Why couldn't you plug it in? And what did you do? Like, what was the recording method? Where was the mic placement? How did you do it? Because I feel like...
Yeah, give us some details.
I would love to know that, because
part for it.
I'm always interested in, did someone make the... Like, what would I have done and what would you have done? And maybe that's one thing. With the weddings that we do, this is one of the biggest things I coach on every week is we do a lot of Catholic ceremonies. And anyone who's shot in Catholic churches knows sound systems are not really what they're known for. And so
Not strong suit.
So you have to pivot a lot with your audio, and I have a pretty strong sense of how to record without directly plugging in. So it's always nice to know what someone chose to do.
Hey, I'm getting word here. A couple things. One, Kyle and Nate shoot together often, which doesn't surprise me. I
That
think
they have the same color grade.
Yeah, they have a similar look. Grant saying 100% agree with you, Jason. I feel like that's something some struggle with, and the over-inclusion of things, I'm thinking audio he's talking about here, that are personal and emotional, but not in the right way, a little too close to home. Joel and Courtney in chat, love it. That is an Aussie saying, stuffed up, I imagine, for made a mistake. For those
I like that.
I think, yeah, I like it too.
I feel like it's always a cultural moment here every week.
Yeah, Grant saying he thought he didn't catch it from the beginning and he thought it was Kyle's film. So there you go.
You guys should just join companies and you can start Stop Go Love Maryland.
Bruno saying audio systems in the UK from DJs and churches are very bad and unreliable.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hit or miss.
I live in New England, so we're like England, but a little better.
Yeah, it's like a little newer.
A little newer. And everything new is better than everything old. We all know that. So.
Ooh, Kyle saying it would be cool to incorporate the shooter calling in and talking through their experience.
I agree, except it would.
Yeah.
It would be cool, except horrible.
Cool, except liability on our end.
Yeah, when I can think of a way that it doesn't give me heart palpitations.
Technologically, yeah, exactly. Like we have a hard enough time making this run smoothly.
I've actually thought about it though. Honestly, maybe a phone call would be easy and cool.
Yeah.
That would be, but
we can maybe figure out something. A couple more comments here. How's everyone back into wedding seasons? New Zealand next week. My wedding season's done.
Yeah.
Not there. I'm happy about it.
I don't have a wedding. I have a wedding on Saturday.
Nice.
It's New Year's Eve. And then I think I'm only on the schedule for 3 weddings next year.
Wow. Well, so am I.
But it will end up being more. I mean, I'll end up having to bail people out and do stuff. I'm only on the schedule for like some certain high-end weddings, and the rest I'm like kind of hands off a little bit. Honestly, I want to focus on this channel. So
we got some big things in the works, some fun things.
So let us do.
Now that we've talked about
this.
a million other things in between this film, let's watch this film from Joel and Courtney Films.
All right.
Gabby, if I could go back in time and tell a 19-year-old me that a beautiful woman sitting next to me in law of associations is going to be my wife, I wouldn't believe it.
Brandon Moore, yes.
Yes, we have watched Gabby to grow and become smart, loving, beautiful woman inside and out. You have this wonderful joy of life, and you share your happiness with anyone you meet and anywhere you go.
Whoa, it's really raining. You can see the shutter speed.
That bird's enjoying it though. That's so tough at what looks like kind of just like
Mitchell.
a smaller
I
venue.
know you
or
love it
something,
when
like,
the
there's just
corner
a
of my
whole
mouth
lot that you can't
twitches
do with
as
it.
I try not to crack the tiniest smile when I'm maintaining that I'm not amused.
My guess is this ceremony was the backup plan also.
Is this
indoor location.
Eastern, Western Australia?
Yeah, New Zealand or
Or
something,
New
right?
Zealand, so west of Australia. Yeah. You got kookaburras as well.
What always gets me is
Or
that
no,
twinkle
Aussie.
in your eye.
Eastern.
Australian.
That's what I thought. I have
Your
some friends that live in
lighthearted
Eastern.
nature is infectious, and it's one of my favorite things about you.
I can't
My
promise you that I'll be
apologies.
perfect. But I can promise you that as we grow together, grow old together, you faster than me,
There it is. Don't include that. You gotta cut that.
Cut that.
I'm going to fall so much more in love with you every day.
I feel the change is coming. It's coming. It's coming. I feel the change is coming. It's coming. It's coming.
People say opposites attract. I relate to that very strongly with our relationship. You're an extrovert, I am an introvert. You're relaxed, I am organized. But I feel like we complement each other so well and provide different perspectives and challenge each other to grow.
That's a funny comment.
The stronger the team, the more rewarding the outcomes. And these two are remarkable in that regard. Today's vows were raw, from the heart, and all that you could wish for from a parent.
I said at the start that if I could go back and talk to a 19-year-old me, I wouldn't change a thing. And perhaps that's not quite true. I promise I wouldn't change calling you old. Not for all the money in the world. But if I could go back to that tutorial and tell you I love you, I'd tell you I love you.
I feel the change is coming. It's coming. It's coming. I feel the change is coming. It's coming. It's coming. I feel the change is coming. I feel the change is coming.
I actually think that footage is really cool.
I think a lot of the footage is cool.
Yeah.
It's solid. Okay, why don't you start?
Cool. Okay, so actually I'm gonna lean on you, Jay, I think in this review for the most part. I didn't write a whole lot down. Like, I just think this is pretty solid. I think especially given like the circumstances based on what they told us, and also kind of what I'm interpreting and maybe assuming some of that. I think this was really well done. Like, I've been in this scenario, right? A venue that, you know, maybe doesn't have the best like indoor, right? You're not gonna do a bunch of bride and groom shots around inside, and it's a storm, and like you can get them out with umbrellas for a little bit, but there's just a limitation to how much you're gonna get. And I think you still told a good story. You clearly used some indoors, and you know, like this looks like an overhang or something, and it worked. Like, I know you would have loved to have been outside. And
Are you going to criticize the shutter speed?
I don't
for the
care
rain.
about that. No, I don't care. Some people will.
That's
yeah,
stupid.
throw your ND filter on, you amateur. No, I don't care. I'd be cranking shutter too there. So
That's the one time where you can actually see shutter speed is water.
Yeah, I know, right? Or like a fountain. I'll see it there sometimes, like the fountain drops coming off. Okay.
I could see. I could tell. I
yeah,
could tell.
Well, I could tell. So.
I could tell. I saw that there.
The two things I would say, I think that I wrote down that I think you did really well. I think you were really hard on yourself for the ceremony. I'm guessing that was a backup location, probably changed semi last minute. If that was the case, I think you handled it really well.
By the way, I can see they had a sleeve.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think look, I think the audio was fine. I think the ceremony was covered well. Yeah, the lighting, it's not great, but it is what it is.
I wonder. I will say this. I question the white balance choice a smidge. I probably would have. I would probably cooled it down a little.
Yeah, it was a little warm.
It was a little warm, especially because you were using it directly next to a lot of shots of them in normal daylight.
It stands out on it.
And also, it looks slightly underexposed.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what I'll say. I'm a Fuji guy. I know what that is.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like you'll have a lot to comment on with that.
When you underexpose that Fuji, it gets super dingy in the oranges. Like it looks like underexposed Fuji footage. And that is a tough camera, man. Like the upper limit on it. I mean, once you get the skin tones, it looks absolutely gorgeous and the colors are really nice. But in terms of the dynamic range, you got to give it enough. I would just get my ISO up a little higher. I probably would have shot that ceremony a lot brighter.
Yeah.
Because you can see how like the skin tones outside, even on her back, it looks great. And if it's a little overexposed from a window light, to me, I'm fine with that. That's anyway.
I think the rain, this stuff that we just saw, like the stuff out in the rain in the storm, right when it was coming or before it was coming with the bride and groom. I really like that stuff. I think it's just
really good.
Like, is it technically perfect? No, but it's like so unique and just cool looking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what you could do differently anyway.
Yeah, also that. So,
okay, so I think there's a lot of good shooting, a lot of good people reactions, and just it's just very thoughtfully done. I can see. I also think the way that the dance floor was lit is exactly how I would light it. I also like how it was shot. A little high for me sometimes, but overall, I felt like I was in the dance floor. That's important to me. Had good energy. I felt connected to the people. To me, a dance floor is not about technical perfection, but bringing energy to the film. I would have liked to see a little more movement in general throughout the film, but I felt like it's really well covered. And, I even feel like, the story, the thing about these kind of days is one of those things where it's just kind of linear. And so I think you told the story that was available to you. What do you think they could have done a little better?
Yeah, so I have just like one thing written down, and then I have an interesting thought that just came to mind with this for me. So, the one thing I wrote down, I think the reception could have used a light, the speeches. I don't think there was some light on them, but I don't think it was from you.
Really?
I think it was from right above the speeches.
Yeah.
Or maybe the light could have been used differently. I don't know. There was something, they just like kind of blended in.
Well, one thing's for sure. They have a light that's very bright, and it definitely wasn't utilized in the toasts the way that they did it in the
I like
dances.
it there. I think the dance footage looks really good. I don't know where the toasts are, but that was like my one thing I wrote down. And then one thing I thought would be interesting would be to talk about, and maybe you're like, hey, we traveled 5 hours for this. This wouldn't be possible. But Jay, if you're presented with a day like this, you or your team or whatever, and maybe it doesn't make sense for your business, but let's say it's not Stop Go Love. Let's say it's your upper tier brand.
And they paid me $12K.
Exactly. And what would you think about, like, you leave this day and you say, hey, I had all these great plans, and part of it is, we put it on ourselves, right? We say, oh, this is going to be a great wedding. We've talked about that before. We've talked about having our own, like, putting what we want as a filmmaker sometimes before, or like, I'm not phrasing that right, but like with your Aspen wedding.
Don't release films that suck. Release films that are good.
Yeah, well, also, like, you went into it thinking like, oh, this can be this epic thing, and then it turns out to just be something different sometimes. So if you go into a wedding like this and you think it's going to be one thing, and then you leave and you say, wow, like, we had to stay inside the whole day. I got 10 minutes of footage with them, and it wasn't my normal style, whatever. This is where I think something that we see from Max Smith very often is like such a strong point. If you have that connection with your clients and you could talk them into doing a day after session or an in-home session and having a lot of that footage could make so much more footage to work with in a film like this. Like, do you ever, I know he does it as a, it's before the fact, right? But do you think there's value in ever trying to approach that after the fact? I guess is what I'm trying to get to.
I would personally never do that unless. Yeah. So first of all, like if that's why I would include it in a large package, because I would want to guarantee that
You're
the
just
day
giving yourself a safety net, basically.
That the day, that we're not dependent on the whim. Because like the biggest thing about a day with high end weddings is you actually like. If that wedding was a high end wedding, that couple would have never went outside and done that with me.
True.
So I think that's why I choose to do those engagement sessions for those higher end events, because the couples are way less flexible.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I don't know, just a thought I had. I was like,
but I would say
this was like a Max Smith in-house session.
If you personally are trying to build a portfolio in a certain direction and you feel like it will benefit your brand, like you could invest money or you could invest time. And I think
exactly. Like it would have to make sense. It would have to make sense for the right couple, the right story, what you need, and also the right point. I think I said, is it important enough to you? Is this a wedding where you're
this
like,
film?
This,
I don't think would have been important enough to me personally.
Yeah, probably not for me either.
But I would say I don't.
Oh, this is my first big wedding, or this get in. Like this planner would send me 10 weddings a year if I kill it. Like I don't know. Yeah, so I wanted to a couple things that I think that could be improved about the film. You know, I like the song. I don't like the song for this film. It just was making me feel anxious, which is an emotional reaction I have when I feel like the film isn't connecting with me in the right way. It was like, almost like just like, here's this film and here's the song. And they're just like doing their own thing. And I didn't feel like it. I don't want to say it didn't match the vibe. If this was I was trying to think, what would I say if one of my guys edited this and we were talking about the problem? I would probably say something like, hey, listen, this day was really, blah, 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 but they handled it like champs. Let's try to lift it. Let's try to lift the day a little bit so it doesn't feel serious. I also am like, this is a common theme in wedding film songs that I personally avoid if I can, which is like the one of like, things are changing. Everyone does, there's change coming and all that. That was that song everyone used. And I'm always like, it's kind of like it's just very serious. The song was very serious. It was a good groove. It was a bop. I would want to listen to it in real life, but it was like distracting me from the film. And I felt like there was no like levity, but everybody was smiling. And I just wanted a little more energy, because overall, the biggest weakness of this film is it lacks energy. It does. This is why I was thinking like I need some gimbal moves or something. I need like table details. I needed a little more polish and a little more energy on the film to match the good coverage and the excellent portraits. And I think the rawness, all that was really strong. I think a little more polish and then a little more just less of a heavy tone to match the heavy weather. That's what I looked at. I was like, we got this kind of crappy weather, and then we got this really almost dark song, like a minor key dark song. I probably would have tried to lift it. The musician in you.
Yeah, it was just telling a sad story in my heart, and it didn't make me happy. And I like to be happy, and that's just me. Some of it is just me, but I do think like if you show this to a prospective couple, they might feel cold too. And you don't want that. You want people to feel like encouraged and
I think that's a good point. I don't shy away from sadder songs sometimes. Like I sometimes like that vibe, but yeah, I'd be careful about where I show that film.
Well, I think
it can turn a lot of people off.
I use sad songs, but I always lift it.
Okay.
So I would probably, if I really love this song, I would probably change songs and create a turn. In the film. And maybe that's really what it was, is like I was wanting to see
Yeah,
like
we never really got off of that.
like all this dance footage. Some of this should not be slow mo. More of it should not be slow mo. More of it should be full speed. I actually take my dance footage a lot and speed it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, by like 20%. So it makes it look like people are dancing even harder.
Yeah,
like
they're really going for
yeah,
it.
like energy. I like just like energy and lift. That could just be me, but that's just my opinion. Is like I'm thinking about how the average person shopping for a wedding film wants to feel when they watch a wedding film. So
For sure.
while we're doing this, guys, I would love it if you guys could drop a like on this live stream if you're enjoying it. It helps us a
please
lot.
Help us out. The cost of this stream is 1 like, please.
Yes, please like it if you like it.
And while we, well, first of all, hopefully you found that helpful. Joel and Courtney, I think we
Great film, by the way. I don't want to make it seem like
there
I.
wasn't a lot of like
it's
technical,
awesome.
like this was wrong. It was a lot more like theoretical, which I kind of like. It's fun to have those conversations, and I think I don't know. You can go into other live film critiques and they'll be like, your exposure was low, your whatever. Like that's all fine, whatever. But that stuff's so like face value. Like I like getting into that deeper.
You
My
died.
camera go off?
We'll keep. Yeah, your camera did. We'll keep talking though. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think like camera stuff is important, but at the end of the day, a lot of filmmakers, they're at the place where they're like, okay, I'm pretty good at shooting a wedding and covering a wedding, and like now we're talking about selling weddings, branding weddings, storytelling, and if you're in the place where you're new and you want that, new filmmakers, we're typically talking about their white balance, exposure, little things like that. Advanced filmmakers, we're talking to them about, and by the way, somebody said, oh, what did they leave in? The thing that they left in the film that I think was a mistake, and maybe they thought it was important and we could debate it, but was when he said, I love watching you grow together. I would have probably gotten rid of the first grow together or grow old together. I think he said that twice in a row. I'm just really sensitive of like people making verbal corrections and gaffes and little things like that. Just like clean it up. It makes it quicker, faster, and also you don't it makes them look the most flattered.
And I'm out of focus. There we go. Yeah, I could hear you, and I agree. I don't know what happened. I feel like this is so annoying. I have my camera hooked up to a power bank, and this camera, when the like internal battery dies, it just like won't use the power bank.
Start it without the internal battery.
That's an option. Anyway, yes, we will move on to our third film. Thank you so much for
Let's make sure
submitting,
that
Joel
they're
and
here.
Courtney. They are. They said phone call or I'm back or something like that. Yeah. But before we do that, Jay, let's talk one more time about our other thing that we have going on, our podcast. So,
yes.
Those of you who are familiar, we have people who just tune in to this live stream. Thank you. We have people who watch all of our tutorial films and stuff like that. And we have some people who don't know that we also have a podcast. I've heard, Jay, from people, best wedding filmmaking podcast in existence. I don't know.
I mean,
I tend to agree.
I would say I have heard that. That's not what I'm branding it as.
Yeah, I've heard that.
When we do a podcast, we're always like, what's interesting to us as like grizzled wedding filmmakers.
Exactly.
And we do try to like, there's a lot out there. And so we do try.
Well, and sometimes it's current stuff too. It's like, hey, like we're both running businesses, multiple businesses. What are we dealing with right now? Like what's forefront of our minds? Like what's
what
like,
up with that?
It's really, yeah, exactly. So I love that. You guys will likely love it too. It's called the Wedding Film School Show. You can find it on all podcast platforms. You can also find it on our sister channel called the Wedding Film School Show.
Yeah.
So we used to have it on this channel. We moved it over to that one. We have tons of great deep dives into
because the
bigger
YouTube
topics.
God algorithms were killing us.
Yes, YouTube. And we, fun guests and whatnot. And do we have like on that note, Jay? Do we have anything cool coming up with the podcast?
Yeah, Jared and I were talking last week, and we were talking about booking agencies, which is a negative a lot of times in the wedding filmmaking community. Is like the people who are like calling people, hey, here's 8 dates I need, and they just send you an email, and there's a lot of negative stories about them in the media and things like that. And out of that discussion, I said, well, like, hey, I can't totally like bag on it because a lot of people in the industry need those gigs to make a living. That's how they're staying.
Catch 22.
Yeah, and I was like, hey, like, here's the real question is, why don't wedding filmmaking as a profession have as many jobs available as maybe commercial production? Where, like, you start a gig, you're a DP, or, I mean, you're not a DP to start. You might be, like, helping out with just, like, your production assistant.
Your PA, whatever.
And then, like, you end up moving into all these different roles, and then maybe you end up running the studio, and then maybe it's like... It's a real profession. And so we kind of talked through, like, what are the barriers in wedding filmmaking between, like, being a mature industry that can employ people where you could be, I'm an editor. Oh, I'm a shooter. Oh, I'm a studio man. Like, having more job employment opportunities within wedding filmmaking besides the current model, which is just everyone is everything.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's an interesting conversation. I think if you... and we also talk about retirement. Like, can anyone in the wedding filmmaking community ever retire?
Yeah.
You know, it's. I think
good topics.
Yes.
Hard topics, if you will.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we're one of the few people that's able to kind of weigh in. You know, because we've structured our lives in certain ways, and so we know that it's possible to do it another way. I don't have a problem with the other way, by the way. I think it's great. Although you should be saving money if you're a wedding filmmaker.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so when does that drop?
I'm going to try to drop it today, actually, later this afternoon.
All right,
so.
well, keep an eye out. Go ahead, sub over on the Wedding Film School show, and you can also become a member here at Wedding Film School. It starts at just $5 a month, gets you priority in getting your films reviewed, but more than anything, it just shows us that you appreciate what we're doing, providing you some free content nonstop throughout the year, wedding season, off season, all months, whether that's behind the scenes, tutorials, this weekly live stream, the podcast, etc. You can hit that little join button next to the subscribe button and see the different monthly options. You're not locked into anything, and you get your name is green, and you get some little logos in chat and stuff like that too. So many thanks to our members and all of our viewers as well.
Thanks for supporting us. Means a lot.
Yeah, we appreciate that. All right, so we are moving on.
I'm going to test this really quick. You ready?
Okay, yeah, this is from Facebook, so a little bit different for us, guys. I don't hear it. I do hear audio.
Good, it worked.
Okay, and this is from Ethan Trombley, which is Forever Cherished Wedding Videography, who had a very important phone call just minutes ago. I hope it went well. And Ethan says, I felt really good about quite a few of the shots I was able to grab on this day. Felt like I had an awesome, very expressive couple, which always helps. The couple was a ton of fun to work with. We were vibing so well, they consider me a good friend. A good friend now. A few of the areas of difficulty were the groom getting ready and definitely the audio. Used a DR10L, which is the lav mic if you aren't using that.
You should use
but often get quite, yeah, you should be using it. I often get quite a bit of popping since I don't have a muff. I would be concerned that that's not from not having.
Yeah, I never put the windscreen on.
Yeah,
I never, but I lose them every. Like I'm like,
yeah, that's a better way to put it. I really felt that the audio was a step low in the video in this one, and had a big impact. Shot with the A7 IV and a Lumix G9, and the Mavic Mini 3 Pro.
All right. You ready? Here we go. Did he say where this is?
No. But he is in chat.
Where are you located? I'd love to know.
I can't believe that this day has come, the day that we stand in front of everybody that we love. I thank you for loving me because I know it can be difficult. But
one thing, guys, this is through Facebook, so it is more compressed. So I'll probably weigh in a little bit on exposure and color, but
just
also
know that, like, it's kind of crushed and whatever.
It's like exported, crushed by H.264 or MP4, and then crushed by Facebook. So we keep that in mind.
Double crushed.
for loving Zane like he is your own. Today I promise to love you through all of the good and all of the bad. I promise to support you and encourage you.
Get those
I
levels
promise
up a
to
little.
frustrate you, and I promise to challenge you. But most of all, I promise to share the most beautiful moments in life with you.
I think it's just quiet.
Yeah, yeah. Wonder what that audio source is.
It seems like something done in post too. Yeah, because that's loud.
Well, that's on camera, right?
Yeah. So it's just a post thing.
Taylor, I didn't need someone to complete me. I needed someone to accept me completely, and you are that someone. You make me unbelievably proud, and I promise that I will make you proud. I vow to listen to you and to learn from you. I vow to laugh with you and to cry with you. I vow to value our differences just as much as our common ground. On good days or bad days, rain or shine, I'll love you forever, and I'm so lucky you're mine.
Yeah, this moment is very long.
Yeah, we've talked about that
The
before.
authority vested in me by the great state of Michigan, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Matt, you may kiss the bride.
What is that lake? It looks awesome.
Michigan Lake, like as in it's a lake in Michigan. I don't think it is Lake Michigan. Midwest, yo.
Do you not have a gimbal? That's my question.
We will await the answer.
Oh no, you don't want to show that. That's not nice. Crusty cake. Kids are in the t-shirt already.
They're done. They're over it.
So I'm gonna skip forward here because so let's talk over this film a little.
Yeah, that's fine. I think we've seen
because
what we
I
need to
think this is a. So first of all, we wanted to include this film because this was submitted by a new member in our Facebook group. And so if you would like to be part of the community, head over to Wedding Film School on Facebook, join our group, and we do interact there a lot. And so we'd love to.
Yeah, and
help you
guys,
out.
there's like so much talent in like what do we have 17,000 members, and there's some who are just top-notch wedding filmmakers in there. So a very good community to be a part
Yeah,
of.
great filmmakers. But so I wanted to include it, and because I we want to be connecting with each people in our group, and so I think this is this very new.
Also, Ethan saying used a Weeble Lab.
Okay. To me, it does not look like it was a gimbal.
Yeah, I would agree with
looks
that.
handheld.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So,
Yeah.
you want me to go first? Or you want to go?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay. So, a couple things I liked. I think in a general sense, you
Ooh, that
were
kid's good. Look at
capturing. You were capturing the right stuff. Like, there were ways that I think you could have captured it differently, but
You
like
should not speed that up, by the way. You can see the water.
You have the coverage. You have some good ceremony shots. I will actually touch on that though a little bit later. Yeah, I mean you have kind of different parts of the day. You have the drone stuff, etc. So it seems like generally well covered in like content, right? You have some detail shots.
Yeah, the day wasn't didn't overwhelm you, and I think that's a really, really great sign.
Yeah. And then I also think, especially in the beginning, I like that you let some of these shots kind of breathe, and that kind of worked with the music and whatever. I think you let some shots breathe too long later in the film, especially when the music got a little more upbeat. But especially in that beginning, like I like some of those, like the dress or the details where it's just like we sat on it just like an extra beat, and I think that worked. And then you did have points where you did, I think, use the music exactly how I would have. You kind of have the kiss on that like upbeat upswing, and then you get to some more, or you have something on the upbeat, I can't remember, and then you get to more kind of faster cuts of the couple, and then when I think it was the exchange that we said was a little bit too long. I think it's the dad walking the bride down. It's kind of a slower part again and more emotional, which I agree it was too long, but yeah, I think like the music use is kind of like right where it needs to be. So yeah, I think those are the things that were done well.
I would agree that all those things, I think that's not a small thing, by the way. Like covering the event well is tough. Like that, a lot of people just can't get the coverage because they're just so overwhelmed. So great job there. I think it's obvious that you were integrated into the day and connected with the people. I think that's also good. And I actually think a lot of the edits were really, or a lot of like the edit was structured in a good way.
Yeah.
In a really solid way. You know what? If we have time, Raphael, we'll review yours as a birthday present.
Can you submit it?
He did, I believe. I thought.
Oh, okay. I'll check while you keep going.
Yeah, so I think even some of the portrait work, I like some of the camera movements. And I think the details, minus a couple that were, in my opinion, decidedly not very polished. A lot of the details were very, very, you did a good job. You captured the details. So there's a lot. So let's talk about where you can improve, because I think there's some very simple things that will help you a lot.
Yeah, I have a lot. I have a handful of things I think would just be very easy things to learn or to fix in a general sense. So first off, intro font text, not a fan. If you want to use text or whatever in the beginning, I know some people do it and it works, whatever. Choose a different text.
Find something trendy. Literally just write trendy fonts and find something.
In the wise words of everybody at Wedding Film School and many in the chat, the smaller your font, the better.
Well, it was like a typewriter font, which is not the right vibe.
That's an easy fix. Okay, I'm gonna go in order of easy fixes. One, your color, it's not my style. If you want to be vibrant, whatever, I think that's fine. You had a lot of color differences throughout.
Well, it was very oversaturated. A lot of it.
Exactly. Very oversaturated, and especially outside, those greens were like neon. And I think that's something that you could address. Audio, you mentioned, we mentioned also, using the DR10L is not going to be the solution for everything. That is the solution for some things, not the solution for everything. You need to get yourself a recorder. You need to plug into the DJ or the sound system as well.
I would also say get something that you can mic the speakers with.
Yep, mic the speakers. And also, if your DR10L is popping, I would check if that's some kind of connection with the mic cable. Yeah. And then the last thing that I would say, and this is, Jay.
Well, while you're on audio too, while you're on audio, the actual issue I had was the mix. Like it would like go down all the way. Sometimes someone would be talking. Like if you have to, like I would say, like anytime you're doing post processing on audio, a dab will do you. And if that doesn't fix it, it is what it is. And you also have to be really careful about your mix. You gotta, if you're editing, please use audio meters.
Yep.
And make sure your settings are consistent.
And then the last thing I'll say, and Jay, asked about this was the question about the gimbal. So first and foremost, if you are using a gimbal, so it is very clear to me you're on your gimbal like the entire day. You need to dial down the motion in your shooting. And I think focus on, I think that's part of why some of the exposure's off, you know, stuff like that, is you're always thinking about moving, and there's a lot of unintentional movement. And I think that's where a gimbal gets dangerous. And I would almost encourage you to go around the day with a monopod or a tripod only, and ditch your gimbal and focus on the basics and the you know, the keystone cornerstones of filmmaking, and nail your exposure and nail your framing, and don't worry about moving. The gimbal isn't doing you any favors, in my opinion. But if you're going to use the gimbal, I don't know if it is not balanced or not dialed in or something, but it is not working right for you.
Or you're just not, you need to
or
practice.
You're not using it the right way. Yeah, something. There's a lot of very jerky motion. You can
see your
pad
feet.
that. Yeah, you can pad a lot of that, so it's a little slower. You can move better, so it's a little slower. Walk, you know, take out your shakes and stuff. Or you can balance it better if that's the problem, or something like that.
I want to give you 2 editing things. First of all, or 3, one of them storytelling. I think including all of your audio at the beginning of your film and then nothing for the second half, and not including the toasts at all, that is asymmetrical to me, and it bothers me from a storytelling standpoint to have like one style of storytelling and then totally other
My
style.
guess is the toasts were not captured for audio.
I know. Then I would use that audio throughout the reception.
Yeah, spread it
like
out.
I would spread it out in a nonlinear way. And then I think the other thing I would look at is it was just so long. The second half with no audio, it was like 3 minutes of people dancing. Too much.
Yeah.
I think you gotta watch the reshoots that you're including. Like I could see a lot of times you're like shooting with your lens and you go like this, and you're like, you restart the move. You know, like make sure you're. To me, it goes. It you never want something that goes this way then this way, this way then this way. It's like one intentional move, and then the other thing is this shot right here is a good example of don't do this. So this is a sped up shot, and I could tell right away, and it's not in like a fun way. It's like this is people kissing, and you never speed up. I never speed up kissing, unless I'm doing like a ramp, like shoo, like maybe you do that. But in this case, you have the water moving, and you have their kiss, and I could tell right away it was sped up, based on the way she pulled away.
Yeah,
and it's just you're better off. Redoing the shot the speed you want if you feel like you flew it too slow. So that being said, I kind of ripped it, and I do think the overexposure throughout the film is the worst part. It was overexposed and oversaturated, and sensors behave differently color-wise. People don't realize this. Colors look different based on your exposure. So you really do want to be well exposed so that you don't get either like dingy colors or hyper crazy colors. Like overexposed colors get oversaturated. Underexposed colors get oversaturated, usually in the oranges and in like skin. It makes skin look dingy. So you really want to try to get your image exposed, and then you color grade. If you're color grading with poorly exposed images, your look is going to always have an issue. So really, really, really focus on not overexposing all these trees and highlights, and the things that are going to right there is just crazy blown out. And like even the lights you can see in her hair, it's not the proper white balance. It's so orange from the room light, and then this is so blue.
And this is either like, I mean, it needs to be changed regardless, but this is like, you know, if you were here for the first film we watched, you know, it's a lot of this same exact lighting that
and a lot of rolling
Pittenger, right, was using. It's this direct light from a window, but is used differently and is used intentionally, and I think that's one of the differences.
But either way, that was pretty. I feel like they did a really good job for such a new filmmaker.
Yeah, and Ethan was saying the vows were recorded, but the crowd never stopped talking, and he didn't use the lav. And I'll just respond to that real quick, because I think it's important to be clear here. If the crowd never stopped talking, then it wasn't being recorded the right way. That wouldn't matter. If you're plugged into the system, again, that's why you should get a recorder. It's, you know, you can get one for like $120 and an XLR cable and a couple other cables. We have videos on it. plug into the system. It won't matter if the crowd is talking. And a lav actually would not have saved that, because you're not going to use one lav and mic up 3 different toasters and, you know, interrupt the event.
No, you could even just get like
lav, let me go put it over on you. It's not going to work like that.
You could get a Zoom H2. No, yeah, nobody does that. You could get like a Zoom H2n, and you could mic the speaker directly.
Yep.
Like there's a lot you can do, but you're only miking a speaker or a sound system. You're not miking a person.
As in not the person speaking, but the actual technology.
Yeah, the magnet that is vibrating and sound is coming out of.
Yeah.
So cool, man. Really good film. Definitely don't want to rip it.
I would love, you know, especially if you have some more, you know, coming up, or I know it's kind of end of wedding season, especially in Detroit. I'm in Minneapolis, so you know, I know how that goes. But submit another film like down the road. We'd love to see some progress.
So we're gonna do this one, speed review.
Let's do it. All right, this is just for your birthday, Raphael, and it's 3 minutes, so that's nice, and we'll just go quick.
Here we go. Happy birthday, buddy. Something. Hold on.
Something is wrong.
Where is this other video playing? I have too many browser windows.
Like that audio doesn't match up.
It's the same one. Here we go. Man, it's a wonder I can pull this stuff off. It's like. Italian, or is this Italian?
I don't know.
Or no, this is Portuguese.
You're too late, Francisco. Sorry, we only have room for one birthday wedding.
There's nowhere left for you to go.
What happened with those vows right there? I'd love to know why you can't hear her directly.
Yeah.
Like that font. That's a different vibe.
Yeah. That's like almost giving me like the Drakes kind of. They have those like funky little vibe or funky text. It's Brazilian.
Yes. I'm interested. Is there no other? Is there no getting ready footage?
I don't think so. He says just the party.
And did you have to deliver a 3-minute film?
Oh, we're going party only from here on out, I bet. I think this song could actually kind of work in a way.
I like the song. Yeah. I don't like that they bought this film. I think it's weird.
Yeah.
Like, why did anyone want to buy this? Like, just nothing?
3 minutes of...
And then just getting drunk?
Of your reception, dancing.
Is this a thing in Brazil?
Enlighten us. Like, do people just buy a party video?
I think we got another one of these submitted one time, and it was Brazilian. I mean, I know a lot of Brazilian people. Like, the town I live in is called Brazil. People call it Brazilford. It's Milford. There's so many Brazilian people. So
maybe this is your new business model.
It seems on brand. Like, they love partying. So, and I do think it's interesting is, like, you see films from other cultures, and, like, the priorities are different.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked about that before in the stream.
This looks nice.
Yeah.
I would have liked it not be in the hotel room, but I like the lighting choice.
Yeah, I think it works.
I feel like this is shot really well, too. It's just like the content is, like, what I'm not that interested in.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that film. What did you like?
Yeah, I don't have like a whole lot to say. I think it was shot, pretty well. Like the dancing footage, I think. I liked, like you said, those hotel shots of the bride. I think my biggest hiccup is just there's not like it's not like a complete film to me. And again, if you can make money doing this and this is what's wanted, like, who am I to talk? But especially as coming from a critique, like, I just don't feel like there's a whole lot to critique.
Can I say that personally, I'm curious why it just wasn't a reel? For two reasons.
Yeah.
First of all, it would be better content. It would be better. That would be, if that was a 1 minute reel, that would be actually sick. Second of all, it would be more sellable. Like a reel of a party would actually make sense on your Instagram and in your marketing. This 3 minute film, unless it's like a thing that people want to buy, I guess that could just be culturally, like in the States, no one would buy this.
Yeah, it'd be a really hard sell for us.
Yeah, like,
and I wouldn't want to do it.
I wouldn't want to do it, but in the States, people don't like to see themselves getting drunk.
Yeah.
On camera. Like it's just a thing. Like if you show people drinking too much, they will say, "Hey, can you cut that out?"
And I think like it's very clear, especially from like those hotel shots and stuff, like the shooting is not a problem.
Well, he said they had the full film, and so this wasn't the only thing they bought. So my opinion is, I think from a branding and sales standpoint, if people are into these party films, I think it would be better. It would be a better product as a 1 minute reel.
Yeah.
Because I think it would help build your brand.
I think so too. I also think the one thing that I would say that stood out to me is especially knowing that there is a more full film. A lot of the shots of the couple. Now I don't really care about on the dance floor because I think there's so much going on visually and whatever. It doesn't really matter. But I would watch the way you work alongside a photographer. That photographer was in a lot of your shots, and that might be them more than you, but it's on you to make that.
If it was only 1 minute long, you wouldn't have to pick those shots. The fact that it's 3 minutes long, it feels a little. It's just long. It's really long to just show people drinking, and I think that's just to me. That being said, we do respect other people's cultures and the films that they appreciate. And like,
and if
that
you're
is
running a business on it, you're running a business on it.
Like, my sensibilities are based on what I can sell.
Yeah.
Well,
it's also, we don't want to critique out of our lane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we can say, hey, camera settings and the way you shoot and whatever is standard across the board.
I think it was shot really well. I like the dance floor. I like the way you shot the dance floor. I even like some of the editing, like holding on that guy saying stuff, and like, I think a little more. This is what I will say: if you're gonna make a 3 minute party film, a little more ambient audio would go a long way. Because I just started feeling like a little detached, and I think that's the opposite of a party. A party, you want to feel part of it and stuff like that. And so I think figuring out a way, if you have to sell these 3 minute party films, how can you create dynamics? How do you slow the film down a little? Like, bring people into the party. Show like 10 seconds of like with no music playing and people making noise. Like, just break it up a little bit more so it's not just like for the whole entire time. I felt like it would have been maybe even having somebody like give a toast or something for like 10 seconds. Just some way to break it up would be helpful.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Cool. Well, that concludes this week's
Wedding Film School Live.
Yeah. Thank you guys all for being here. We will be back next week, I believe.
We got a couple big videos dropping in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. Do we want to tease anything? You got anything to tease?
One of them I cannot tease.
Oh.
Legally. But it's going to be a good video, and I'm excited about it. And then the other one is we got a new BTS. We're in like the last kind of... Those videos are hard, man. If you guys are like, we need more BTS. No, yours is next.
Okay. That one's going to be
That's interesting.
It was a day.
But I would say, those videos are hard, man.
Yeah.
They're like hour-long movies. Like,
yeah.
And then you have to cut in all the in-camera footage, and it's just...
Yeah, there's a lot that goes into those, so we hope that you appreciate them.
Yes.
But we'll be back next week to critique some more films. So if you want your film reviewed, you can go ahead and start submitting right now. At the top of the chat, there is a pinned message from us with the link go ahead and start submitting now. They will be, qualified, whatever, considered for next week. If you want priority in getting your films reviewed, please consider becoming a member. It costs just $5 a month. You also help out this channel. Let us keep creating awesome stuff for you guys. Other than that, Jay, anything else on your end?
I just love all you guys. That's
yeah. Thank you so much for being here. Leave a like on your way out. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you and goodbye.